Okay, the purpose of this app is to develop a simple model view controller app which will read basic song details from a raw text file. So that would be the YouTube URL of a song video, the name of the band, and the name of the song. It'll read those into simple model objects, which will then be presented in a list view in the Android app. When the user selects one of the songs, a dialog will appear asking them if they want to play the video. They can select yes or no, and if they select yes, an implicit intent will be launched and the video will be played in the phone's or Android device's browser. The first thing we're going to do is go to the resources directory and create our file. So we create a new Android resource directory, and the type of directory we want is raw, so it's raw data. Okay, so there we go. And here we want to create just a new file, and we're going to call it music list. So in this file, we're just going to put some data. Okay, so what we've got here is the data in three parts. We've got the YouTube URL here, then a separator or delimiter, which is in this case a hash, the name of the band, and the name of the song. Okay, so three pieces of data on each line, and the delimiter, which we're using in this string to split up the three parts, is a hash. So the next thing we want to do is create our model object, which we are going to read this song data into. So here we create a new Java class called song. And what I'm going to do here is just copy and paste in the contents of the class. So it's just a basic class that implements serializable, which we'll see later. We have three basic attributes here, which correspond to the three attributes in the file, and then the rest of it is just ordinary getters and setters and our constructor. The serializable will become clear later. We're going to pass this object in a bundle. So the next thing we want to do is write our controller layer. So this is going to be another Java class called song controller. So what this is going to do is receive an input stream from the activity above, and it's going to use that input stream to read through the raw file that we saw a moment ago and produce an array list of song objects. So we're going to have a method with this signature, so it will receive an input stream from the Android layer above. An input stream is an ordinary Java object, but we'll use, because this is an Android app, we will be initializing the input stream from within the Android area, and the method is static here, so we can just call songController.read songs from stream. We could also make the song controller a singleton if we wanted to. So the next thing is to declare the array list of songs and create it, which we're going to populate. To allow us to read the input stream line by line, we wrap an input stream reader around the input stream and then wrap a buffered reader around that. Okay, so this is just standard file processing. And as with most file processing, we're going to have a try catch. So here we're catching an IO exception, and here we're just going to print out the message from the exception. So the next bit is just some standard file processing where we want to read through the file. So something like this. So each line is in the following form. As we know, it's a YouTube URL, an artist name, and a song title. So we read each line, line by line, using br.readLine. And we keep reading the lines in the file until we reach a null line, which is the end of the file. We then use the split method to split up the string into its constituent parts, and what we're splitting on is the hash. So that gives us an array, in this case an array of strings, which should be of length 3. So what I'm going to do next is declare some constants up the top here, which correspond to the index of each part of the string. So index 0 in the string array is going to be the YouTube URL, index 1 is going to be the artist name, and index 2 is going to be the song title index. So now let's just read out those individual parts and put them into a song object. So instantiate the new song object, and we take the different parts of this array using the index constants defined up above. And the final thing here is to put this song into our songs array list. So songs.add song new. Finally, at the end here, we want to return songs. Okay, so that's our controller complete. So the next thing is to write our activity. So song list activity, which will extend list activity. Here we want to overwrite the onCreate method as normal. So the first thing we want to do here is get access to our raw file and return us an input stream to that. So for that we use get resources, open raw resource, and point at our music list file using the OR object, and that returns us an input stream. Next thing we want to do is read the array list of songs, so we declare a variable for that, and we now use our controller. So we're passing our controller the input stream which we've accessed here, and it's expecting below, and it's going to read back a song list, which is an array list of songs. Next we want to create an adapter. So this is an array adapter for our list. And it's adapting song objects for our list. So remember the arguments where this is the context, which is this activity, the constant specifying the type of thing that we are adapting for, and finally the song list, which is the raw list. finally we set that as our list adapter to populate the list. So the next thing we want to do is intervene when the list view is clicked. So when you click on an item in the list view. So to do that, we override on list item click. So the most important thing here is we have the position in the list supplied to us. So we can simply pull that song out from that position in the array list. So remember, the array list is what's sitting behind this list view. So if we select the second item in the list view, we're selecting the second item in the array list. Okay, so now we want to present a dialog to the user, asking them if they want to play this song. So for that we need a DialogFragment, or a class which extends DialogFragment. So we'll go back in here to our Java directory, create a new Java class, and let's call it my question DialogFragment. And it extends DialogFragment. And the method which we need to override in here is onCreateDialog. So this is where we'll actually build our alert dialog, which is the yes no dialog. So we leave that there for a moment, and we will go back to our song list activity. And what we want to do here is create an instance of that fragment class. So it's the springboard for launching our dialog. Now what we want to do is we want to pass this song object to our dialog fragment, and we do that using a bundle. So we simply create a new instance of a bundle, bundle b equals new bundle, and we put the serializable object into the bundle using a key of our choice, in this case song. Now when you're passing information to a fragment, there's a method on fragment called setArguments, where you can send a bundle if you want to send information to a fragment that you're launching. So we do DialogFrag.setArguments b, our bundle. And finally we want to launch this dialog fragment. So we do DialogFrag.show, and the first argument is getFragmentManager, and the second is an ID, a string which we choose ourselves. Okay, so back to our fragment. So when we were launching this fragment, we set the arguments on this fragment. So now we get them back at this side by calling getArguments. We get the serialized object, which is the song, out of the bundle, like this. And next we start building our dialog. So we use the inner class builder, which is inside alert dialog, and we create an instance of that class. And we pass it the activity. So to get the activity that launched this fragment, we just call getActivity. Now we're obviously going to want to pose a question to the user in the dialog, so for that we're going to need a string. So let's go over here to our strings.xml and add in a question, video question. So it's just say play video question mark. So coming back here then, we do builder dot set message, it could be or dot string dot video question. Next we want to set up the behavior of the yes and no buttons, or as they're called in here, the positive and negative buttons. So we do this like the following. So we do builder dot set positive button. So we put in the text we want to appear on the button, and then this on-click listener. So it's an inner class of dialog interface. This is the class which we use for listening to clicks on a dialog. We do the same for a negative button. So here we change that to no. And we do set negative button. Okay, so in this case we don't actually want to do anything when we click no. So if you want to do nothing, the no behavior will be just to dispose of the dialog and it will go away. But on a yes, we want to create an intent, a view intent. Now, importantly here, the data which we're doing the intent on. So we do view video dot set data, and this has to be in the form of a URI. So we do URI.parse, and we take the string, which is the URL of the song. So URI.parse the song.getURL. And the next thing we do is call start activity and pass that intent in. So that should invoke something which will play that URL. So this would be, in most cases, the default browser on the device. So finally, at the end of this method, we need to return a constructed dialog, because this method expects us to return a dialog. The way you do that is call builder.create to create your dialog and return the result of that. So one final thing remains here, just a little bit of housekeeping, is to add our default activity into our Android manifest. In this case, there's no need to add our fragment, because it's not, the fragment is not contained within the activity. So we just add our activity in there as a normal default main activity, and there's our song list activity. So if we now launch our app, we should see our songs appearing here in our list activity. If we click, we get play video. If we say yes, it should launch our browser and play the YouTube video.